Sampling distribution of a statistic refers to the distribution of some sample statistic over so many samples drawn from the same population. So what is sample statistic? See, in simple words, sample statistic is a single number calculated to summarize the sample, like the mean, median, mode, variance, interquartile range, standard deviation, etc. Okay, so what does sampling distribution actually means? So let's understand. Suppose we have a population, and let's assume this population consists of numerical values, where each of these dot represent a single numerical value. Now we draw a sample, we will record its value, and then place the sample back into the population. Okay, now as we have discussed in the beginning, that standard deviation is a distribution of some sample statistic, and here we are interested in finding the sampling distribution of sample mean. So here our statistic will be the mean. Okay, so we'll find the mean of this sample, and let x1 bar be its mean. Now we will repeat this process so many times. Which process? Now this process, drawing a sample randomly, finding its mean, and then placing the sample back. So let's say we repeat this thousands of times. Now after repeating this thousands of times, we will be getting thousand number of sample mean values. Okay, cool. Now look into this thousand sample mean values that we got from thousand samples that were drawn from the same population. So it is going to have a distribution, and this distribution will be the sampling distribution of sample mean. Cool. Now instead of finding sampling distribution of sample mean, if we want to find sampling distribution of some other sample statistic, like let's say we want to find the sampling distribution of sample median, then what we will do? Then in place of finding mean for each sample, we will calculate the median. That's it. And here the median is denoted by M1, M2, M3 and so on. Cool. So the distribution of this sample median will be the sampling distribution of sample median. Okay. So depending on what statistic we are finding for each sample, we can have a sampling distribution of that specific statistic. Like we can have sampling distribution of sample mean, of median, of mode. If we find the variance of each of the sample, then we can have the sampling distribution of sample variance, standard deviation, of interquartile range, and so on. Okay, so now let's understand this sampling distribution by taking an example. So let's say this is our population, which consists of numerical values like 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So let's say we draw a sample of size 3. Okay, and here also we are interested to find this sampling distribution of sample mean. So we will find its mean. Okay, now we'll repeat this process 5 times. Which process? Now this process, drawing the sample randomly, finding its mean, and then placing the sample back. We'll repeat this 5 times. So we will got 5 sample mean values, and this distribution is the sampling distribution of sample mean. Okay, so now let's understand what is standard error. Cool. See, standard error in simple terms is the standard deviation of a sample statistic that is calculated for so many samples, where these samples are drawn from the same population. That is, standard error is the standard deviation of some sample statistic like mean that is calculated for so many samples, where each of these samples are drawn from the same population. Cool. So let's calculate the standard error of our example that we have taken just now. So these are the 5 sample means that we calculated for the 5 samples, and standard error of sample mean is the standard deviation of these sample mean values. Okay, so we'll find the standard deviation of these data set of sample mean values. Okay, so its mean will be 5.27. Next, we will find the variance, where using this formula, where xi represents each of the sample mean values and n is the sample size, which is 5 here. Okay, see, the calculations are really simple. That is why I'm skipping the calculation part. Okay, so the variance will be 1.57 and standard deviation is root over variance, which will come out as 1.25. So this 1.25 is the standard error of sample mean. Okay, now just as every sample statistic has its own sampling distribution, so every sample statistic will have its own standard error also. So this is it for today. Hope that this sampling distribution and the standard error concept is cleared. And if you have any doubt, you can leave a comment and we will meet in the next video. So yeah, thank you.